The Senate chamber fell into an uneasy silence as Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett made her way to the witness table. Her navy blazer was crisp, every line deliberate, and her natural hair, cut into a sleek bob, shimmered beneath the overhead lights. At just 33 years old, the former public defender from Texas had been summoned to speak on voting rights legislation. But what unfolded next would stun the nation. At the committee table sat Senator Lindsey Graham, flushed, fidgeting, gripping, his papers like they were weapons. The South Carolina Republican had been simmering all morning, and the temperature in the room was rising with every minute. "Miss Crockett," he snapped, his southern drawl crackling through the mic. "You Democrats think you can march in here, preach about democracy, and tear it down at the same time?" The room lit up with camera flashes. The energy shifted. Crockett didn't flinch. She calmly adjusted her mic, locked eyes with Graham, and smiled. What happened next would explode across social media. It would be clipped, subtitled, remixed, and replayed for weeks. A routine Senate hearing had just transformed into the political showdown of the year. Graham believed he could outmaneuver the young black congresswoman from Texas. He was wrong. Before we jump into this remarkable moment, comment where you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe for more breakdowns of explosive political confrontations. To understand the magnitude of what happened, you need to know who these two figures are and why this confrontation was inevitable. Lindsey. Graham built his career as a firebrand, a Senate pit bull, known for his harsh questioning and theatrical flair. He'd survived impeachment trials and SCOTUS hearings, painting himself as a defender of institutional tradition. But 2025 had not been kind to him. His polling numbers in South Carolina were slipping. Younger conservatives had begun to label him a rhino. The MAGA base he once catered to was turning on him. He needed a moment, something bold, to remind his voters he was still the conservative warrior they once cheered. Enter Jasmine Crockett, young, unapologetic, unbothered by Senate decorum, a former civil rights attorney who made her bones defending the defenseless in Dallas courtrooms. Crockett had no interest in playing nice or seeking compromise. She wasn't in Washington for handshakes and tradition. She was there to get things done. Her sharp questioning during House hearings had already gone viral multiple times. She wasn't afraid to confront. Her motto was simple: respect is earned, not inherited. The legislation at the heart of the hearing would determine how easily Americans, especially people of color, could access the ballot. To Graham, it was about election integrity. To Crockett, it was about democracy's survival. All morning, the hearing had been tense. Republican senators barked over witnesses, cut off testimony, and made snide remarks. Crockett sat through it, all taking notes, waiting. Graham had been the loudest voice in the room, yelling, pounding the table, taking jabs that even some of his colleagues found beneath the chamber's dignity. The cameras loved it. He was playing the role of conservative warrior battling woke Democrats, but Graham made a fatal mistake. He underestimated Crockett. 6 months earlier, Crockett had unraveled one of Graham's star witnesses during a House hearing, exposing inconsistencies in his voter fraud claims. Graham had called her performance grandstanding. Since then, he'd made repeated jabs about young Democrats who don't understand Washington. Everyone knew who he meant. Crockett had done her homework. She watched hours of Graham's past hearings, studied his rhythm, his traps, his tells. That morning, she told her staff, "If he wants to bring heat, I'll show him Texas heat, the veteran senator versus the fearless freshman. A perfect storm." Graham opened the exchange with a deceptively calm voice. "Congresswoman Crockett," he said, flipping through his notes, "you've been vocal about this legislation. So tell me, in all your vast experience, how exactly do you justify federal interference in state election laws?" Crockett leaned forward, calm. "Senator Graham, federal oversight of voting isn't interference. It's a constitutional duty. The 15th Amendment—" "Oh, please," Graham interrupted, waving her off. "Don't lecture me on the Constitution, young lady. I was studying constitutional law when you were in elementary school. A low murmur rippled through the room. Crockett remained steady. With respect, Senator, she said, the Constitution doesn't expire based on when you studied it. The principles are timeless whether you learned them in 1985 or I learned them in 2015. Graham's volume increased. You Democrats come in here with your talking points and your camera crews. You don't understand the real-world consequences of what you're proposing. He stood, looming over her. These laws were passed by elected legislatures, but I guess democracy only counts when you win. Crockett didn't blink. Senator Graham, she said, you keep invoking democracy. So tell me, how does making it harder to vote strengthen democracy? That's not what we're doing, he shouted. We're protecting election integrity. But you wouldn't understand because all I care about is what? Crockett interrupted, her voice surgical. Graham was already too far in. You care about playing the victim, crying voter suppression when what you really want is to make cheating easier. Crockett's tone shifted, still calm, but colder now. Are you accusing me of trying to facilitate election fraud? I'm saying your policies— No, sir, she cut in. You said you. You pointed at me. Are you accusing me personally of supporting fraud? Silence. Even the stenographer paused. Graham's face reddened deeper. I'm saying I'm tired of being lectured by people who think being young and loud makes them right, he was shouting. Now, I've been fighting for conservative values since before you were born. You don't know how anything works. You're just chasing your next viral moment. The committee chair shifted uncomfortably. Other senators glanced at their phones. The meltdown had already hit social media. I'm not done, Graham snapped when the chairman leaned in. These young Democrats come in here with no respect, no regard for this institution. He turned toward Crockett again, pointing. I won't take it. From you, from AOC, or any of you. This is the United States Senate, not a college debate club. Still, Crockett didn't move. Her hands were folded, her eyes focused. She looked like a seasoned defense attorney watching opposing counsel implode. When Graham collapsed into his seat, breathing hard, the chamber froze. All eyes turned to her. She took a sip of water, adjusted her mic, met his gaze. Are you finished, Senator? She asked softly. Graham gave a curt nod. Good, Crockett said, because now it's my turn. The room held its breath. You've just made my argument for me, she began, voice calm and cutting. You've proven why we need federal protections. Because when people in power don't like what they hear, they don't debate. They dominate. They intimidate. Graham stirred. Crockett held up a finger. No, you had your time. I'll use mine more effectively. The shift was seismic. Even Republican senators leaned forward. You called me young and loud. Well, Senator, you're right about one thing. I am young, but I haven't raised my voice once. You, on the other hand, well, the record speaks. Muted laughter fluttered through the chamber. You said I don't understand Washington. Let me tell you what I do understand. She leaned in. I understand that for too long, when women, especially women of color, ask tough questions, they're called disrespectful. I understand that shouting is often used to drown out truth. She opened a folder. You studied the Constitution for decades, so surely you've read the 15th Amendment, the one that says no American shall be denied the right to vote based on race. She pulled out another sheet. These are voter suppression statistics from your state, longer lines, fewer polling stations, stricter ID laws in black counties. Tell me, Senator, how do you reconcile that with your constitutional knowledge? Graham tried to interject. She didn't pause. You asked about my qualifications. I'll share them. I was a public defender. I stood in courts where men shouted to intimidate, where experience was used as a shield against accountability. Her voice strengthened. And I learned something, Senator. When someone yells instead of answers, It usually means they don't have answers. She opened another folder. You said you want election integrity. Great, let's talk facts. In 2020, 159 million votes were cast. There were 31 verified fraud cases. That's 0.00019%. And yet your proposed laws would make it harder for millions to vote. So tell me again, how? Is that protecting democracy? She paused, looked directly at him. You said being young doesn't make me right. I agree. Being correct makes me right. And facts make me right. Then she closed her folder and delivered the final blow. You've been in the Senate for 28 years, Senator Graham. In all that time, can you name one voting rights law you've supported that made it easier for eligible Americans to vote? Silence. Graham opened his mouth, then closed it. He glanced down at his notes, then back up, visibly rattled. The cameras didn't miss a second of it. Behind him, Republican aides were already doom-scrolling Twitter, watching the moment go viral in real time. Can you name a single senator? She repeated, her voice steady, almost kind. Senator Lindsey Graham said nothing. The silence thundered through the chamber. Reporters typed like their keyboards were on fire. On the Democratic side, a few couldn't suppress their grins. Even some Republicans shifted awkwardly in their seats. Crockett didn't gloat. She just turned back to her folder. Let's walk through the record, she said, flipping a tab. The 2020 South Carolina voter ID bill, you pushed it. You voted to cut early voting. You blocked automatic registration. Twice you voted against the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Her eyes lifted again, steady and piercing. So I have to ask, in all your years reading the Constitution, did you skip the part where democracy is about participation, or did you just decide that some people's votes matter more than others? You could hear the snap of a camera shutter, like it was a gunshot. Graham's face had gone pale now. His fingers clenched so tightly around his pen they trembled. This wasn't a disagreement. It was a demolition, a takedown broadcast live to every screen in America. I respect your experience, she continued, but experience without wisdom is just time served. Wisdom means knowing you don't have all the answers, and that maybe, just maybe, someone younger might be worth listening to. She scanned the room, calm and unwavering. I didn't come here to disrespect anyone. I came here to represent the people who sent me to defend their constitutional rights. If that makes me young and loud, I'll wear that title with pride. But if you want a real discussion, facts, data, laws, I'm here for it. The choice is yours, Senator. And with that, she turned back to Graham, who had spent decades making opponents squirm, now reduced to silence. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult. She didn't flinch. The chairman, visibly shaken, announced a recess. As cameras kept rolling, Graham bolted, gathering papers without looking at anyone. Crockett stayed seated, calmly organizing her notes, as her Democratic colleagues leaned in to congratulate her. But the real eruption? Online. Within minutes, the clip hit Twitter like a bomb. Her Crockett claps back was trending nationally, Instagram flooded with reels of her quiet power. TikTok creators added cinematic music to her stare-downs and slow-motion edits of her asking, "Are you finished, Senator?" One post showed Graham's rage set to chaotic rock, before cutting to Crockett's calm replies set to Mozart. It clocked 2 million views before sunset. Commentators on both sides couldn't ignore it. Fox's Brit Hume tweeted, "Say what? You want about her politics? Crockett handled that better than most." AOC quote tweeted, "That's how you do it. Composure, facts, leadership." Even President Obama chimed in. This is the kind of public discourse we need more of. Republican spin attempts failed hard. Ted Cruz claimed Graham was just passionate about election integrity, but replies quickly pointed out Graham had made 0 arguments. just noise. One GOP senator, off the record, admitted it. She ate his lunch. No other way to say it. Anderson Cooper aired a full segment. This is how not to handle disagreement, he said. Body language expert Lillian Glass broke it down. Graham pointed, paced, cracked his voice. Crockett, eye contact, calm hands, unbothered. That's control, that's power. Rachel Maddow called it a textbook example of how to win without shouting. Political strategist Steve Schmidt added, she let him unravel, then dismantled every point. That's not politics. That's law school excellence. Even Tucker. Carlson, usually Graham's ally, conceded. She outplayed him. If you're yelling while your opponent is calmly citing constitutional law, you've already lost. Jennifer Lawless from UVA said it best. This wasn't just generational. It was strategic. Crockett represented the future, and it hit deeper. Kimberly Crench wrote in the Washington Post, Graham's tone wasn't just hostile, it mirrored a pattern. How powerful black women are often disrespected in public settings. Crockett didn't just endure that, she flipped it. Strategists called it a generational handoff. James Carville said, she just became the voice young Democrats have been waiting for. Even Karl Rove admitted, Graham blew it. This was a softball moment, and he lost the room. Graham's PR machine scrambled. First came a hardline interview. I don't apologize for caring about elections. Twitter ratioed it in minutes. Then came a half apology. Maybe I got too heated. Still not enough. Finally, he went silent, hoping the story would fade. It didn't. Meanwhile, Crockett soared. Speaking invitations, media requests, donor calls, all exploded. Her name even surfaced in whispers about future presidential tickets. In an interview with the Washington Post, she stayed grounded. I didn't want to fight, but I wasn't going to be intimidated. We need less volume, more substance. Art. Moment was added to Harvard's political strategy curriculum. At Georgetown, Professor Sarah Mitchell said, Crockett proved that poise can be revolutionary. Law schools played the clip in trial advocacy classes. She didn't just refute, she cross-examined. Political consultant David Axelrod summed it up. Graham thought he was debating on C-SPAN. She knew it was TikTok. The digital age rewards control, not chaos. And Crockett understood the assignment. Even across the Atlantic, the BBC compared the moment to UK Parliament showdowns. Their takeaway? American politics may be discovering the strength of quiet confidence. For young leaders, especially women and people of color, the lesson was unmistakable. As Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett said at a women's conference, Jasmine showed every girl watching. You don't have to shout to be strong. You don't have to be rude to win. Stay calm. Stay smart. Let them beat themselves. The old political playbook, volume, age, and bluster, is fading. The new one? Facts, calm, and control. Jasmine Crockett didn't just win a moment, she reset the standard. In an era of viral politics, losing your temper isn't just a bad look, it's a career-damaging screen-captured disaster. The question now is, who's next to learn the lesson? If you want more deep dives into game-changing political moments, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You never know which hearing, vote, or confrontation will shift the political winds. Now tell us, did Jasmine Crockett just deliver the blueprint for a new kind of politics? Or should she have gone even harder? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read them all, and we're just getting started.